So very important that we understand the principles. As mentioned earlier, we have divided the sessions so that we can do this spread throughout the year. So last time you had Brother Aaron. He talked about the seasons of life, and today we will talk about the father and mother moons. Maybe the term is unfamiliar to many, but what we want to understand, and let me say this right at the beginning, the objective of this particular chapter is not to blame the parents, but to understand ourselves that maybe we are carrying wounds that affect the way we parent our children. At the same time, to understand that the way we parent our children will definitely have an effect on them. So we want to learn how we can better guard ourselves and maybe diagnose ourselves if we have these father and mother wounds. Now let me put it in context. So if you read books on parenting, maybe some of the things you will read will talk about communication. It's very common. It's a very common topic, and a lot of books will talk about communication. But the problem is, if you have a wound that you carry, emotional connection and even communication may not be that easy. So in other words, not everything that we hear and understand can be easily implementable. And one of the factors that affect the implementation are the wounds that we carry. Some things may be simple. For example, if you see a person with disability, it's very easy to say to a person who is healthy and who is able to run fast. But if I say that to a person who has a disability, I'm sure that that person will understand what I'm saying, but will not be able to implement what I'm asking him to do. And that's good na majority, nandito tayo last time. Because what we don't want is to miss the episodes, because what will happen is that we will build the next training or the next part of the training on the previous training. So let me just highlight a few. Now, if you notice, this was explained to you last time. We talked about the seasons of life. Now, let me skip this and go to this one and go back to that again. Now, what we need to understand is what we want is for the children to finish well. Now, the reality is this, when they are maybe about 70 plus years old, where are we by that time? Maybe in heaven or too old to parent our children. So, in other words, there will be a season wherein they have to continue the journey on their own. Now, what a lot of parents would assume is that this whole season, from zero all the way to finishing, is we are present all the time. The reality is we will not be present most of the time. And then the problem is there are only seasons wherein we can impact our children. And most of that is during the foundation years. We call this the foundation years because most of life's major decisions that will affect the second half are determined during the first third of our lives. So it is important to understand this season. Now let me just go back to this one. So we have necessary inputs in the lives of our children. We call this the mother impact years. From 6 to around 11 or 12, we call that the father impact years. So significant inputs are necessary so that we can contribute to the well-being of our children. Now, what I want you to notice is after the mother and father impact years, and we call this the home phase, we now have the peer impact years. Do we have parents here who have children above 12 years old? Yeah. Notice that before around age, not automatically, but before age 12, maybe they're very clingy. Yeah? Mommy, daddy, sama ko. I have a 6-year-old son. He's always asking me where I'm going, as if the loyal asawa ko. Isa yung totoong asawa ko. Always ask me where I'm going. And then this little boy always asks me where I'm going. Every time I take a bath, he would ask me, are you leaving, daddy? Are you going somewhere? And usually I don't. I just want to take a bath. But the problem is, when they reach around this age, you will notice there is now a big change, right? They shift their focus from parents to peers. And usually we struggle with parenting teenagers. And the reason for that is because of their social development. Their attention is now focused on peers to the point that oftentimes parental intervention during this time is now becoming more and more difficult because they are more busy. I remember in daughter namin, when she was around 12, the first time I heard from her, sinabi ng daughter namin, sabi ko, okay, let's go, let's have dinner together as a family. For the first time in my life, I heard my daughter say, Daddy, can I just stay home? Wow. Shocking, ano? I was surprised because it was the first time I heard those words. So in other words, sometimes we think that the season for parenting them would be the same all throughout their lives, but the reality is, as they age, they become more and more independent, and intervention becomes more and more difficult. So this particular season, the home phase, is very significant because at this time, they really look up to the parents as the source of authority. Their focus for guidance is more on the parents. When they come to that particular season, the peer impact years, they shift their loyalty as if from parents to their peers. So you would notice that, for example, I talked to some OFW parents and some of them would be absent during the season because they assume that because the children are still too young, they can still go abroad and be absent during the season. But what they found out, it's very difficult to reintegrate to their children once the children reaches this particular age. So they think it would be easy to just come back home to their families, reintegrate that instantly. But the reality is, it is very difficult in this season, and again, the reason for that is because there is now a transition in their development. They are now developing socially, so it is important that we understand that particular season. So what happens if we miss the important seasons in their lives, and we miss out on the important inputs that we have to give them? Therein we create the wounds, yung tinatawag nating wounds. So as I said earlier, the intention is to help them to have a strong foundation so that eventually they will finish well. Yan ang objective natin. Now, one of the things that is also quite noticeable is that when you read books on parenting, they would give you guidelines, principles, but they will never talk about the context of your family. Now, it is important to understand that when we talk about parenting, the kind of relationship that we have with our children will determine the effectivity of the inputs that we give. Right? For example, halimbawa meron tayong 20 parents present right now. You hear the same things, but as far as implementation is concerned, it may be difficult at different levels for each parent. And the reason for that is because we have differences in terms of relationships with our children. If you have more than one child, okay, do not assume that because you are at number 4 with a particular child, you are at number 4 with all of your children. And the seasons move on, so this is actually a moving target. So let me first explain. So this is called the Rubin Hill study case. I'm very sorry for those seated at the back. Medyo mababa na yung PowerPoint namin. But I hope you can still see this. So we have two important factors. You have control, and then you have love, right? So the permissive parents, they are high on love, but low on control. Permissive parents. High on love, low on control. Ano yung tawag natin sa mga kids when they get everything they want? Letter S? Suerte. Spoiled. Spoiled, no? Spoiled. So, ito yun. So, basically, they have permissive parents. Now, some parents think that the best expression of love to your children is to give them whatever they want. So, walang control. So, just give and give. Now, what is interesting with spoiled children, you have positive actions producing very negative results. And the reason for that is they not only need to be loved, that love should also be expressed in control. Okay? We have to understand this. That's why we have to guide them, we have to discipline them, we have to teach them. And the reason for that is because they need control as well. So you have quadrant 1, permissive parents. Now number 2 are neglectful parents. Okay? They are low on control, low on love. I usually hear this from some parents. They would say, malalaki na kayo, alam nyo na gagawin. They would always tell their children, you are old enough, you know what to do. But the question is, did you teach them what to do? Because sometimes we want them to grow on autopilot. So we become neglectful parents. Low on control, we do not discipline them, we do not guide them, or maybe we are absentee parents for some reason, we fail to express love and control to our children. So these are forsaking parents, okay? And then number 3, we have the authoritarian parents, fighting parents. Usually they produce rebellious children. And the reason for this is because they are very high on control and very low on love. And I've heard of parents who say they love their children, that's why they discipline their children. So in other words, to them, discipline is an expression of love. While it may be true, we still have to communicate our love to our children so that they would always understand. By the way, yung parents ko po, yung father ko is also a pastor. So every time we are disciplined, there is always a debriefing, okay? Explaining to us why we were disciplined and telling us that they love us, that's why they discipline us. That is very important. In fact, if you go to Hebrews 12, you will see that pattern and that exhortation also, right? God the Father tells us the reason why He disciplines us is because He loves us and we are His legitimate children. So in other words, one expression of love is discipline or control, but we have to make sure that we communicate that to our children. Otherwise, what the children will see is just the control, not the love, right? I remember one time, yung wife ko asked me to take our daughter out so that we can talk about a particular issue. And then we went out, me and my daughter. And then when we returned, my wife asked me, did you talk to her about this issue? I said, no, we did not. We just had a good time and ate together. Sabi niya, why? And I explained to my wife, I don't want my daughter to think that every time I invite her to go out, okay, it's like I would scold her and I'm just looking for a better venue to do the scolding. I don't want that, right? I don't want her to associate me asking her out for something that would be negative, no, as far as her experience is concerned. So we have authoritarian parents. Again, it's important that after we discipline them, we assure them that we love them. You know, in Filipino families, this is something that we do not practice. We do not do debriefing after we scold them. We don't process the discipline process. And the reason for that is because a lot of parents will just scold their children, and the children will have zero idea when it is okay to approach the parents. So, para bang, basta galit ako sa'yo, bahala ka na dyan. Okay? And then no debriefing. So it is important to give a debriefing after you scold them so that they will be assured of your love. Now, number 4, this is the sweet spot, so to speak. This is high on love and high on control. So you have authoritative parents. Parents are fellowshipping parents. So we teach our children to develop good self-esteem and they would have coping skills. Now, as I mentioned, if you have more than one child, you would notice that for every child, you have to work your way up to number 4. This is the sweet spot. Good intentions without good relationships will not produce good results. So even if you have the best of ideas, without good relationships, implementation will become difficult. So sometimes when we read books on parenting, they will just give us parenting tips, but they do not give us the context of those tips. So it is important to work out our position at number 4 and to understand that parenting is a journey. Okay, let me just go back a few slides. Notice that in every season, it is quite challenging because our target is to be at number 4. Okay? You remember number 4? Balikan ko lang for those seated at the back. Our goal is to become authoritative parents. And the challenge is, as they progress from one season to another, it becomes more and more difficult. No? During this time, it would be maybe easier because our children are focused more on the parents and we have time for them. And the struggle is when they go to the peer impact years, wherein their loyalty shifts from parents to peers. So sometimes it's very difficult to be at number 4, especially with your children at that particular age. So our objective is to be at number 4. Understand? Okay. Now, if I ask you, where are you right now in your parenting journey? Can you say you are at number 4? Okay? And if we ask your children, will they give the same answer? Can they say that, yeah, my daddy and mom are at number 4? No? So it's always good to check, no? Because why? Because we want to make sure that we give the proper control and discipline. At the same time, we also want to make sure that we are always expressing our love to them in the language that they would understand and appreciate. So this is the sweet spot for parenting. You have the right kind of relationship. That's why it is easier to implement rules, regulations, and to parent our children in general. Okay? Now, sadly, not all parents have the intention of being at number 4. Okay? This is another adaptation of the Rubin Hill study case taken from CEFAM, or Center for Family Ministry. And this has to do with the types of parents. No? I'm sorry for some of the descriptions, but we took this out of the book. So this is how it is described. So you have in this case, you have involvement as factors, and then affection. Notice, you have the determining father. He does not enjoy spending time with his children and has a clear-cut view of a father's role, which is to control his children's destinies and direction in life. So very highly involved, but not really loving, so negative affection. And the reason for that is because he sees the children as just tools to continue his legacy. Okay? So yun lang, sadly. And then you have the procreator, negative affection and low involvement. He sees himself as the provider, and sorry for the description, reproducer of the species. Wow. I think nobody would say that they are at number 2. Okay? And then you have the dilettante, the weak, dysfunctional father, but nevertheless able and willing to develop a warm, friendly relationship with his children. Now, this is very interesting. It is positive affection, low involvement. And the reason why is because this particular father maybe has no role model or has no idea of what to do. So, even if you have positive affection, if you do not know what to do, you cannot involve. If you carry wounds that limit your involvement in the lives of your children, you will become a dilettante parent. So you have positive affections, but again, weak and dysfunctional simply because you have no idea what to do. That's why training is important. That's why attending seminars is important, because we get inputs. So what we want is to be, again, at number 4, the generative father. So he sees himself as a guardian and finds personal fulfillment and rewards in rich, quality family life and becoming a competent parent by getting involved in his child's activities and development as a person. So you parent them for their sake, okay, not just for your benefit. Because sometimes the reason why we parent them well is because we want to benefit from them later on. So the intention of a generative father is to make sure that you develop the way God designed you to be, and we will help you to become that person. Okay? So high involvement, positive affection. So involvement is not the only indicator of good parenting. Because some people think that, when you are involved, then you are a good father. Because as far as high involvement is concerned, we have 2 types of fathers. The generative and the determining. This one is not okay because of negative affection. And affection is not also the only determinant, right? Because in this case, you have 2 types of parents who may have positive affection, but the other one has good intentions and highly involved. This one has no idea what to do. So he just loves his children, but has no idea what types of inputs are needed to help the child. So as I said, it is important to first understand where are we as far as our relationship with our children is concerned, and where do we need to be. Because proper placement in this quadrant is very important so that we can implement the right parenting tools to our children. So, let's continue. Now, what happens if we fail to give them the right input? So now comes what we refer to as the mother and father wounds. So devastating damage is done by the parents. Wrong inputs, no inputs, right? We can create damage in the lives of our children. Similar to some gadgets that we use. Sometimes we throw away the manual. How many of you actually still read the manual? Right? When do we usually read the manuals of the gadgets that we buy? Pag sira na, when it's already broken. So the manual, what purpose does it serve? The intention of the manual is to tell you how to use the product, right? But later on, the manual serves a different purpose, to explain why something got broken. So the only time we read the manual is to try to find out why did it break, what happened, right? I remember this friend of mine, he was given a huge television by one of the members, but this television is a Japan surplus, if you're familiar, so it's 110 volts instead of 220. There is a huge sticker at the back of the TV that says 110 volts. But he did not pay attention. He was so excited to watch using that television. So he plugged it in at 220. And the only time he saw it work was the very first time he plugged it in. There was a great white light. And that was it. So that was the end of everything. No? The TV got damaged and it's beyond repair. So in other words, after he saw that it was damaged, that was the only time he realized that there was this huge marking at the back, a sticker that says 110 volts. So that sticker, supposed to be, was placed there to prevent damage. But now it became an explanation as to why damage occurred, right? So usually we try to go to counselors, we read books, why? And the reason why we read is because we want to find out why am I having problems with parenting my children. So instead of the principles telling us what to do, they now become explanations on why problems occur. So we have to be proactive. That's why we have to learn. So what do we need to do? Okay? Now, Gordon Allport, he said, our choices as parents, determine our behavior. And this becomes so much a part of our system that it is genetically transmitted to future generations. Okay, that's based on research. And then you would notice that in the Bible it talks about generational sins, and it's interesting how they connect the two. Okay, now see, Dr. Carolyn Lee said this: our choices alter the expression of our genes, which can then be passed on to our children and grandchildren, ready to predispose them before they are born. So take note of this. Our bad choices become their bad predisposition. So to you, it's just a bad choice, but to them, it becomes a bad predisposition. So we have to be aware of this. Now, usually, when we talk about inappropriate behavior, we just see the inappropriate actions. But the question is, where do they come from? Okay? Now, I like the analogy or this illustration, the tip of the iceberg, because usually we just see the tip. We try to correct the inappropriate behavior, never really trying to understand what's going on underneath, right? So we have children who misbehave, or maybe parents, actually, who are doing inappropriate behavior, and we can usually find the reasons underneath, okay? So these are insecurities caused by mother and father wounds, right? So they result in inappropriate behavior. And we will talk about that in a while. What are the causes and what are the signs? Now, one of the things that we would notice as far as these behaviors are concerned, they are driven by insecurities. I read somewhere in social media, and I agree with this. He said, usually we buy things we do not need, with money we do not have, to impress people we do not even like. So why is there a tendency to always try to impress other people? Okay? Why is there a tendency to do certain actions just to get the attention of some people, right? Why are we doing these things? What motivates us from doing these things? Part of the reason are insecurities. Now, if you notice, this is the biggest reason for unhealthy marriages. I remember my mentor, the author of this particular book, The World Needs a Father. By the way, if you're interested in getting the book, we can bring some later on, so you can also read. So he said most of the problems that we have in marriage are problems that we bring into the marriage. So meaning, if we fail to parent our children well, we're not just affecting them in that particular season, we are affecting them for the rest of their lives. So the effect upon them would be devastating, and it can last even until the time that they are married. So unless treated or unless addressed. So a lot of unhealthy marriages, the reason for that are insecurities, right? Secondly, the biggest reason for bad leadership. Why are some leaders very insecure, right? Whenever you see somebody doing very well from the ranks, instead of appreciating them, liking them, you see them as a threat, right? Or sometimes negative comments or comments basically are seen as personal attacks. Why do we feel that way? So we will try to understand later on. It is the biggest reason for personal dissatisfaction. You always feel you are not good enough. You see life as a competition. And you always are motivated by the success of others. Very unhealthy motivation for living life. And then, it is the biggest reason why people do not get over their problems. So these are what we refer to as insecurities. Now, the problem with insecurities, if we do not know the cause, the source of these insecurities, it will continue to wreak havoc on our marriage, relationships, and even as far as leadership is concerned. So that's why we have to address them. Now, what is interesting with insecurities, they develop very early on in life. For example, let me give you an example. When a child is about 0 to 1, that age, 0 to 1, you know that we can already inflict damage on the child, emotional and psychological damage. They do not talk yet at that particular age, but when we fail to give them the necessary love and affection that they need, according to psychologists and according to research, trust and mistrust is developed at that particular age. One time I was watching National Geographic. I saw a mother penguin with a very small baby penguin. I was wondering how come this mother penguin would leave that baby penguin and after several days of looking for food, come back and identify the same baby penguin. They all look the same, right? Maybe you have to be a penguin to understand the difference, but I think they all look the same. And how can this baby penguin, just a few days old, few weeks old, identify this as the mother penguin? There is a bond that is very important among living things. It has to be developed and established right at the very beginning. That's why in hospitals, you will notice lately, they room in the child. Once the child is born, I remember yung second child namin, we were actually sick when that child was born. So we had this allergy because we tried cleaning the house. And me and my wife got sick because of all the dust preparing for the baby. So we wanted to hold the rooming in for us to get better first. So then we asked for the baby. But the doctor insisted that they must give us the child immediately because it is according to the law. So we had no choice. We were just praying that the child would not get sick. And praise God, he did not. But the bottom line is this. The reason why they room in the child just a few hours after delivery is because they want to establish that bond. And that bond will affect trust and mistrust for the rest of the child's life. So, some will go as far as until the time that they are married. Now, look at this. Deficiencies when people live with insecurities. Leaders struggle to trust and connect with people emotionally. So this is from a mother wound early in life, right? You struggle to connect emotionally. This is what I said earlier when I said that sometimes you read books on parenting, they tell you talk to the child, right? Connect with the child. But if you have wounds that you carry, it is very difficult to connect with the child because you do not have what it takes to do so. It's like telling a person with a disability to run faster if that person cannot run faster because of the disability. So, that's why we have to understand this. And for those of you who just came in, it's important to tell you, we're not studying this chapter to blame our parents, okay? We are not here to blame the parents. Let me clarify that, okay? I don't want you going home blaming your parents. We are here to understand why we are the way we are and how we can better understand how to parent our children well, okay? We have to understand the wounds. So some leaders feel they are not good enough. It is from a father wound not affirming their potential well enough. So you always struggle, you always want affirmation. I had this session before, the full session, and during one of the coffee breaks, one of the attendees came up to me and said, Pastor, thank you for teaching me about this. Now I understand my father. And I asked him, why? What happened with you and your father? He said, my father, I always struggled with him. Every time I talked to him about my accomplishments, he would always tell me he actually did better. Parang mas magaling ako kaysa sa iyo. I tell him about my struggle. My father would always tell me about his own struggles. I tell him about my accomplishments. He would always say, I have better accomplishments. And then I asked him, how is the relationship of your father to his father? And he said, my grandfather died early. So his father is actually suffering from a father wound, lacking affirmation. That's why he was seeking affirmation even from his very own child. So the two of them, every time they talk about accomplishments, instead of appreciating and affirming each other, they would end up competing. Because every time he shares his accomplishment, the father would also share his own accomplishment and would belittle his accomplishment. And he said, Pastor, what I did after the first sessions that we had, I went to my father, instead of competing with him and telling him about my accomplishments, I just listened to him and I appreciated what he went through. And he said there was a stark change. There was a big difference in the way he reacted. He felt very much appreciated. And then later on, he began to commend me for my own accomplishments. So you see the power of wounds, right? Even a good moment with the family, you will start out well, enjoying each other's company. But when you touch on an issue of insecurity, all of a sudden, medyo, nagkakaroon ng problem. I don't know if you've experienced that. When you would start out okay, you would talk, and then later on, when you touch on a particular insecurity, your relationship begins to go in a different direction. Now, let me use an illustration. For example, pastor has a shoulder pain. And I tapped him. I said, good job, pastor. How do you think he would react? Maybe violently, and even the wife. And the reason for that is not because I tapped too hard. It's because he has extra sensitivity because of the pain, the wound that already pre-exists. So even if my intentions are good, telling him, good job, but because there is a pre-existing wound, the reaction would be different. So sometimes when we relate to our spouse, we experience the same, right? Sometimes good intentions, pero violent reactions. And the reason for the violent reactions is because we carry wounds in our lives. And when we are not aware of these wounds, if we do not address the wounds, what would happen is we would continue to violently react, feeling that every criticism is a personal attack. Instead of just validating if these things are real or if these complaints are really valid, we would just consider them as personal attacks. And we don't want that. That's why we need to identify the wounds. So sometimes with our children, when they disrespect us, and if you have wounds, you overreact. Instead of trying to find out, how can I better relate to my child? You are so consumed with anger towards the child because of the wound that you carry, and because you are hurt because of that wound, you tend to overreact. The issue is no longer the issue. The issue is not the pain that you feel, rather than the problem that you need to address. So eventually what would happen, you focus more on your emotions rather than the issue at hand. And you end up not addressing the issue and just, fight about the emotional pain that has been inflicted upon you. Look at this one, number 3. Leaders are aggressively defensive when criticized from a father wound who did not help them to understand their value and uniqueness. This is what I meant when I said that sometimes you see criticism as personal attacks. So these are other signs of insecurities. You want to prove yourself constantly. Self-justification, you always try to explain. You find security in material possessions, and apart from them, you feel that you have no further significance. You become a people pleaser. Indulgences or addictions, condemnatory or paternalistic, self-pity, cannot deal with critique or discipline, seek insatiably for recognition. We call that the orphan spirit. jealousy, racism, floating in life, having no idea what direction to take. So these are just examples of insecurities produced by mother and father wounds. Now, in the Bible, we also find many examples. And some of them, in the case of King Saul, instead of appreciating David as one of the mighty soldiers, he was so insecure. And we see that all throughout scriptures. I will not go through the details of that. Now, the question now is, where do we get these insecurities? Where do insecurities come from? So they usually come from mother and father wounds. So we have the false self and the true self. Okay, let's try to understand this. Richard Rohr said, our false self is who we think we are. It is our mental self-image and social agreement, which most people spend their whole lives living up to or down to. You see some people with very great potential, but sometimes they don't see themselves as people with potential. They are very insecure. Let me illustrate it this way. In the province, when you see horses, I remember pastoring a church in Batangas, and they use horses to haul coconut. Now, when they lead the horse, for example, I want to use the word park. Can I use it? When they park the horse, that makes better sense for me. How do they park the horse? Do they actually tie the rope very tightly? They actually do not. They just loosely sling the rope over a branch, and the horse will not leave that particular place. In other places in the world where they have elephants, how do they park an elephant? They would use small woods. They would put it in the ground, and they would tie the rope attached to the elephant to that small piece of wood, buried in the ground or pinned to the ground, and the elephant will not leave. Even though that elephant has the capacity of carrying logs, it will not leave. You know why? Because when the elephant was younger, it was trained in this way. It was conditioned to think, you cannot pull that out. You cannot pull that out. Lumaki na siya, it has grown big, and has the capacity and strength to pull it out, but in the elephant's mind, it was conditioned already, you cannot. So it will not. And sometimes, ganun po sa parenting natin, we have this false self, who we think we are, and this is very dangerous. And the false self is something that dominates our lives. According to study, the false self, the concocted belief or programming, take note, this is a very strong word, programming that I am inferior, incapable, and rejected, and that I now have to build my identity on what I have, what I do, and what others think of me. Now, the true self, on the other hand, is the creator or recreated intended expression of God, understanding that I am the beloved, uniquely and sufficiently gifted to reign on earth as the representative of heaven. So in other words, when God created us, He sees us differently. But sometimes when we look at ourselves, we see our insecurities. You see a lot of people in the Bible with insecurities. Moses is a good example. You remember when God called him, he had so many excuses. Among them, I cannot speak properly. And then you have Gideon in the book of Judges. Instead of just obeying the Lord, he cited many reasons why he should not be chosen or selected for the purpose. So we carry false selves, right? Insecurities. Now, this is a very important slide. I encourage you to take a picture of this one. Now, why is this important? We will talk about the basic needs. The numbers represents the age when this is needed. And then the wounds will talk about what will happen if we do not address these particular needs, and what would be the effect? That is the excessive need. And this is now the false self. Okay, let me explain. So the basic need at age 0 to 2 is a sense of belongingness, intimacy, and insecurity. I attended a training for the World Needs a Father, a training update last July, or I think July or August, in South Africa. And we had this speaker who talked about the importance of somebody receiving you into this world. No? He said, for 9 long months, you've been in the womb, secured in a confined space. You feel that somebody owns you. You are protected. You are safe. And then all of a sudden you go outside the womb. For the first time in your life, you feel insecure because there's no embrace out there. So somebody has to accept you and to give you that warmth that is needed. So if that is not given at a very early age, you will have no sense of intimacy and belongingness. So basically, even if you cannot still talk and express yourself, you feel rejected. So the excessive need would be to be accepted. So some people, just to be accepted, what is the false concept? I am what I have. So the tendency is to acquire things, not because you need them. You acquire things because you feel you will be accepted when you have these things. So sometimes we really buy things we do not need because basically we feel that we will be more acceptable to other people when we have these things. So if you notice that there is a tendency in you or in your child to want to have things just to be accepted, then most likely that is a wound in the life of the child. And we have to address that. We do not want them growing up feeling inferior and they will only feel better, or they would feel that they have worth once they have material things in their lives, because that is very dangerous. Age 3 to 5, capacity. What you would notice about the toys our children play during this time. Yung son ko, he would like to always imitate me in what I do, right? I try to fix things. At least that's my intention. But in the reality, I usually destroy things. Okay? DIY for me is destroy it yourself instead of do it yourself. So that became more evident during the pandemic. I had to do things on my own. But anyway, I noticed that there is a tendency for my son to copy what I do. So every time I take out my toolbox, he would also look for similar items. And then if I clean the car, I would take a sponge. He needs to have a sponge as well to help me clean the car as well. So in other words, copying me in what I do. Now, why is this? Because at that particular age, they now have that curiosity. Now, as parents, if we do not recognize their initiative, of course, they still do not have the capacity to do things as well as we do. The point is, sometimes we prevent them from doing so, not knowing that as we do that, we make them feel incapable, or maybe they would feel that they are a failure, right? Halimbawa, no, if you have your daughters or even your sons trying to help wash the dishes, they end up multiplying your dishes. What would happen? We would scold them. Instead of appreciating the initiative, we would just ask them not to do it, right? And what do we throw outside the window when we do that? Not just the actions that they did, but also the motivation why they did it. So ang ayaw po natin mangyari dito is to make them feel that they are incapable. They lose that sense of certainty at that particular age. So when they have this wound, the excessive need is to be capable. And what is the expression? I am what I do. So some people will have never-ending pursuits in life. The reason is not for personal satisfaction. Sometimes you just have to ask, why do you have so many things that you want to pursue in life? Because many people would pursue that simply because they want to prove that they are capable. So it is driven more by insecurity rather than the desire to excel, to become better. So there's nothing wrong if you want to experience a lot of things or to be maybe to have a wide range of experience. But if that comes from an insecurity because you don't feel capable, then that's problematic. Sometimes as parents, very difficult ito no, sa ating mga anak. I always say na we love our children equally, but there are children that are easier to love simply because they are similar to us in many ways, maybe same personality, right? They like the same things, same gender maybe, but there are also children who are very different from us. Iba yung likes nila, iba yung hobbies nila, they prefer to do things differently, and we have to understand their world so that we can appreciate them more. I see this with my children. We only have 2 kids, very different. Age, malayo. One is 13, the other one is 6 years old. The firstborn is a female, yung second one is male. The firstborn, very stern, serious. Yung aming son, 6 years old, happy child. Lagi siya, always smiling, always happy. So it is very easy to relate to him because everything I do, he likes to do. But my daughter does things differently. So I have to understand her world so that I can appreciate her more. And I have to exert extra effort in showing her that I enjoy her company. With my son, it's very easy. I do things that I do. He feels that I appreciate him. Because we do the same things, right? It's easy for him to blend in with me. With the other child, I have to make sure that I exert effort. And I have to be conscious of that, right? Now, so I am what I do. Now, age 6 to 8, we have to make our children understand their uniqueness. Now, with my daughter, she is very much into arts. She likes to sketch. Me and my wife, wala kaming idea ng sketch. Ang drawing lang namin, yung mga lakad na hindi natuloy. Pero we cannot draw, okay? But my daughter, for some reason, she likes doing this. And I remember during the pandemic, she used up a wood rim, on bond paper that I was saving for some work at home. And she used them up for just the drawings that she did. And she likes to do that. And I always tell myself, even though we do not draw, even though we do not do some sketches, we have to support her to make her feel that we appreciate her uniqueness. Now, sometimes, it's easy to scold them. Bakit inubos mo yung isang rib? But again, if I do that, I would make her feel inferior. So I want for her to understand what you're doing is okay. Even if I don't do it, I have to make sure that I express my appreciation for what she does, for her uniqueness. Because if we don't do that, they develop low self-worth, they feel inferior. The excessive thing is to be valuable. I am what others think of me. So they try to project a different image from who they really are. And the reason for that is because they feel they are not accepted for who they truly are. You get the point? No? Sabi mo, minsan, parang insecure tayo sa sarili natin. We want to create another image that would be more acceptable to other people rather than living as we truly are. So that's the struggle. So those are some of the wounds. Now, let's move on. I hope you're getting this. Am I making sense so far? Okay. Gusto niyo namang umuwi? Trying to escape during the coffee break? No, I hope not. So let's continue. So how does the false self present itself? Right? These are some of the things. Fear, rejection and failure, anger, defensiveness, possessiveness, manipulative, destructive. You promote yourself by blaming other people, preoccupied with self, wants to prove that he is better than others as performance. So always trying to get the extra mile, doing the extra things just to get the extra attention. Yan ang problem with the false self. You try to live up to something that you have created. So again, that is very dangerous in the life of the child because basically walang sense of security with his or her identity. And then, ito pa, si Pete Scazzero. If you try to look up his research and studies, he talks about emotionally healthy spirituality. According to Pete Scazzero, because he deals mostly with ministers and pastors, he said, why is it that sometimes we claim that we are spiritually matured, but at the same time, we are emotionally immature? Because usually we don't address the issue of emotions. We think of spirituality as attending church, going to church, loving God. But the problem is we can be spiritually immature by that standard, but emotionally we are not mature. So these are his findings. Okay? So I will read through this, and I'd like to ask you, in your mind, try to put a check. Okay? Halimbawa, I read something and you feel that's you. Okay, just think 1 point. Read another line, you think that's you. 2 points. Okay? We do that? You don't have to say it aloud. I'll just go through this. I am reluctant to admit my weaknesses and flaws to others.
I look for the approval of others more than I should. I am highly offendable and defensive when people criticize me. I often become harsh and impatient when things are moving too slowly or my expectations are not met. I say yes when I would rather say no. I beat myself up when I make mistakes. I have difficulty speaking up when I disagree or prefer something different. I have a number of people I'm struggling to forgive. My fears often cause me to play it safe just in case, and my body is more often in a state of tension and stress than relaxed. Okay, so try to see how many items. Okay, we have the mental figure, kung ilan. You don't have to say it to me. Just keep it in your mind. Okay, let's do the assessment. According to Pitts Casero, if you check 2 or 3 statements, you may be living out of your full self at times. If you check 4 to 5, you probably have a moderate case of pretending to be somebody you are not. If you check 6 or more, you want to receive this as a gentle wake-up call to deeper journey with Jesus. Maybe we need a deeper journey with Jesus, no? So actually this is very important because the reality is, if we are living a life that is not truly consistent with who we really are, we're just pretending to be somebody else just to be accepted, that is a very stressful life, right? Very stressful life. So how do we remedy this? Saan ba nanggagaling to, no? To remedy, we have to first understand where they come from. So, si Basil Pennington, he said, the false self is an enslaving master. Our whole life's energies have to be dedicated to the protection and fostering of this mirage of being. Just to keep up with the false self that we created, we have to use up a lot of energy. It is the source of all our unhappiness. Once we realize that we bought into the construct of false self and we have come to identify ourselves foolishly with what we do, what we have, and what others think of us, we have made the first step toward freedom. So what do we do? Identify natin. Sabi ni Basil Pennington, I no longer identify with a concocted false self made up of what I do, what I have, and what others think of me. I now know that I am existing within and ever flowing forth from the divine energy of the I am. Here is freedom, here is empowerment, here is life, here is love beyond all telling. So he talked about the true self and false self. We have to be confident with our true self instead of living out a false self. Now, mother and father wounds are the main ingredients with which the false self is concocted. So how is this produced? Ito po, this is a very important slide again. Dito po sa ating left, we see the roles of the mother. I move this. I think this is better. And then on the right, in yellow, these are the roles of the father. Okay? And we will talk about this in the latter chapters later on sa mga succeeding sessions. But it's important to note this, that there are very important inputs during the mother and father impact years. Now, understand that timing is important. One of the things that prevent us from having more time with our children nowadays are gadgets. Do you agree? You know what's interesting with gadgets? They were created so that people who are apart can be together. But now the effect of gadgets, people who are together are now apart because of gadgets. I think you would agree. And in fact, sometimes you are together. Just recently, I was invited to talk about togetherness. And I had to think deep because now togetherness does not just represent families being together physically. You may be physically together but are not really together because if the mother is enjoying online shopping, 10-10, katapos lang, and then the upcoming 11-11, and then the father is maybe busy doing some online work or maybe the child is doing online games. So ang problem po natin, it takes our time away. And some parents would assume that because you are physically together, you are together. But the reality is, that is a myth. Being together is not just being near each other. Being together is making sure that there is intimacy. You talk to each other. There is a PUP research that was conducted, a PUP interview, and they found out that the average father will only spend about 20 minutes per day interacting with the child. I tried to challenge the results of that PUP survey. In one of my trainings, I was talking to fathers. I asked them, how much time do you spend interacting with your child? So they cannot remember. So I helped them remember. Okay, so to make it easy, I said to them, try to recall, if today is Saturday, how much time did you spend with your child, talking to your child, last Saturday? Try to recall. About last Sunday, about last Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And you know what most of them said? Pastor, honestly, I think I just spent about 0 to 5 minutes. The most is 5 minutes. 5 minutes interacting with the child. And what they said is this: we assume that because we are together most of the time, we are interacting. But the reality is we are together, but we do not interact. And the sad reality is this: the average father would spend about 20 minutes per day interacting with the child, and the context of that interaction is correction. Right? So, bihira na tayo makipag-usap, and every time we talk to them, it's always in the context of correction. Your teacher said this, mother said this, yaya said this. So, sometimes the problem natin, we are not intentional with spending time with our children. And I think now more than ever, we have to be more intentional because, as I said, we have intruders at home in the form of gadgets, right? And somebody asked me, Pastor, what do we do? Because some of the things that they do online are legit. In other words, they're doing homework or interacting with their teachers or classmates. And some parents would say, we're also interacting with our office mates, right? Doing something, work from home. Well, I said, you need structure at home. Structure and schedule, meaning there is a particular time wherein you have to all leave your gadgets behind and spend the time together. Diba, minsan it's sad, ano? You see families, you go to malls, restaurants, you see them together, having meals together, but the gadgets are always getting in the way, right? Nakakain sila, no? When you go out on a vacation, the first thing they ask, what is the Wi-Fi password? Yan na kayo ng mga essentials, di ba? So, meaning, you go out, the purpose is so that you can spend family time. But the problem is, they bring the intruder with them. Okay? So what happens in the end, you fail to enjoy the time together simply because we do not have the structures for that. I had a single mom attend one of my trainings. She asked me, Pastor, I have to do a lot of work to sustain the needs of the family, and my daughter, my older daughter, is asking me for more time. What do I do? I said to her, well, schedule a date with your daughter, once a week. So in other words, find a common time that you can spend together. Okay? By doing so, she anticipates that that particular day is reserved for you, and you can also prepare for that because it is reserved for her. But if you don't have the structure and the schedule, what would happen is hit and miss. They would be available, you are not, you are available, they are not. Does that happen to you? Is that ano? You have the time, you are together, but how come we cannot be together? And the reason for that is because we do not have the right structure. So it's important. Now, again, inputs are necessary. Another thing that gets in the way, before I discuss this, another thing that gets in the way of the father and mother impact years is the tendency to maximize the help coming from our yaya, the nannies. Tama? Nasa isip natin, may yaya, sulitin natin si yaya. A lot of yayas would love me for this. Sometimes we ask them to do all the work to the point that our children become very irresponsible. They do not learn the age-appropriate responsibilities simply because they have yayas to go to and ask them to do it for them. Tama? So that's the problem. So they grow up not knowing anything. They cannot do anything. Bakit? Because we make use of the yaya. And sometimes, we also feel comfortable that they are with yaya. So we feel that our physical presence is not really needed because we have an extension of our presence, of our being in in the form of our yayas. Tawagan si yaya, pinakain na ba si baby? We meet their needs because yaya is there to provide for all these things. Pero ang problem, we are not physically present. So what happens is, they bond more with the yaya rather than with the parents. Meron kaming friend, she's a teacher, and I remember she said to me, she was telling us a particular incident at home. The reason why she resigned from teaching for a moment, for a while, for a season, she said, ang problem is this, she saw her child say goodbye to the yaya. Ganito yung story. She said goodbye to her child. And the child said, goodbye, mommy. See you later. So, okay lang. When the yaya, went out to go to the market to buy some food, yung daughter niya, grabe, sobrang iyak, as if the yaya will no longer come back. Talagang crying. And she said, how come? When I say goodbye to my child, she says goodbye back. Okay, goodbye. And then when the yaya leaves, the child cannot take it. So attached to the yaya, to the point that the yaya became more significant than the mother. You know what she did? She resigned from work. Nag-hands-on muna sa kanilang anak for a season, and after that, balik siya sa work. She wanted to regain that precious moment with the child, that precious season with the child. Because after the season is gone, it becomes more difficult. Is it impossible to regain the relationship? Of course not. But it becomes more and more difficult. Why? Because their developmental stage takes them from parents to peers. That's why we struggle with that. Especially when you have kids na working na, di ba? Now it becomes more difficult. Why? Because they are doing a lot of other things. So that you can no longer spend time with them. I don't know, siguro yung iba sa atin, you have to schedule an appointment with your kids, just to make sure that you have time together. Grabe, no? You have to make sure. Kami nga, with my daughter, she's 13 years old. Every time we plan something, we have to check the school calendar and ask her. Why? Kasi may mga activities na rin sila sa school. So we have to make an appointment with her to make sure that she is able to join us in the family activity that we're planning. So yan na po ang changing times natin. So why is this important? Because without time for our children, whatever good intentions we have, we will not be able to implement during this special season. So look at this, no? So if we fail to give the necessary inputs, for example, impartation of intimacy 0 to 1, providing care and nurture around this season, age 2 to 3. For the fathers, you have to provide emotional security, age 4, okay, that coincides with the mother impact years. And then affirming potential at age 7, establishing moral authority around age 5, and it goes on. And then conferring identity at age 10, just right before they transition to the peer impact years. What we don't want is for them to move on to the next season, the peer impact years, unprepared. So we want them to know their identity, the right values, how to make decisions, how to choose friends, just before they go to that particular season. So that when they transition to the peer impact years, they will go there prepared. They know their values. I don't know in your case, but in my case, growing up, there were times that I don't even have to ask permission from my parents because I already know they would say no. And some things I know they would say yes. Why? Because the rules are so clear growing up that even in their absence, you know you're violating something if you do something that is against the rules. So they are so clear. And my parents are so aligned with each other. Okay? One parent would not say, I allow this, and the other parent would say, I don't allow that. They are so aligned that it eliminated whatever confusion there was. Some parents do not align, right? Pagtingin ng mga anak natin, matatalino yan, no? Pagtingin nila, si nanay mukhang mainit ang ulo ngayon, wala pa yung in-order niya nung 9-9. Maybe would go to the father, okay? Because the father would maybe most likely give permission. Diba? So sometimes what happens in the end, the mother won't allow, the father will allow, so you end up fighting, okay, the parents will fight, and the child will get confused. No clarity as far as rules are concerned. So we have to give them clarity by making sure that we establish moral authority, confer identity. We will talk about this in very detailed form later on. But what I want us to understand right now, the absence of the inputs, the necessary inputs, would create wounds. The absence of inputs would create wounds. Now, I used to think, when you say wounds, these are negative emotions. Not all the time. Not all the time. Some wounds do not have negative emotions associated with them. But somehow they lack something in their lives. So the effect is they have wounds. So let's look at the mother wound insecurities. So neglect of impartation of intimacy. As I said, this is very important from age 0 to 1. And it goes on, definitely. So look at the effect. I struggle with opening up emotionally. When people come close to me emotionally, I pull back. I often feel lonely, as if I am on an island. I withdraw to a lonely place to get space between me and others. I stand at the door of people's lives. So you want to connect with other people, but seldom enter into the inner chambers emotionally. But you struggle with emotional connection. I show signs of an orphan spirit, feeling I do not belong. So these are wounds coming from lack of intimacy with the mother. So can you imagine? As I said, these are very devastating even later on when your children gets married. They struggle to connect emotionally. Imagine yung wounds come from age 0 to 1 and yet the effect would last longer. Neglect of nurture and care from mother. I have serious bouts of fear. I feel lonely in my pain. I feel alone. I do not need anyone else to share with my pain with. I react with strong emotions when I feel my spouse is not sensitive about my feelings. Wow, grabe, no? So sometimes ito yung struggle na mag-asawa, no? You feel that the husband does not understand you, or you want the husband to really be involved in your life. Somebody once said that men, the husbands, are more solution-oriented. Tama ba? So when the wife tells the husband of certain problems, an immediate thing that comes to our mind, she's telling me this because she wants me to provide a solution. Tama? But the reality is, in the mind of the wife, I'm telling you this because I want you to share in my pain. I want somebody to listen to me. So what we do is we offer certain solutions, blah, 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 blah. Instant solution. And the wife, instead of being happy with the solution we provide, they will not be happy. You know why? Why I know? Experience. I try to provide solutions. And then I realize, she knows the solutions to the problem she's telling me. She's not actually after solutions. She just wants for me to relate and to listen and to spend time with her, listening to all this. And sometimes she would share the same things again and again. And my mistake is to tell her the solutions again and again, creating more problems, no? For myself. I remember one time, after we got married, you're familiar with spam, right? Spam. So, bagong kasal, so we had this breakfast. My wife decided to prepare breakfast. Spam silog. Okay, so spam. In their family, because spam is expensive, in their family, mas marami sila, they would slice the spam so thinly and they would cook it. To me, yung pagluto niya is overcooked. No? So it's crunchy. In our case, fewer members in the family. My parents do not eat spam. So, 3 of us, kids, would just share. So, thicker slices, and we do not overcook the spam. Para pag may natira, you can still cook it the following day. But usually, wala nang tira. We just eat them. Bottom line is this. So, I did not know that my wife was suffering from insecurities back then. Why? Because she was thinking that maybe I prefer my mother's way of preparing things for me. So she was mentally trying to compete with my mother because she was now taking care of me. She cooked the spam. Sobrang nipis, so thin. When I took the spam, for some reason, something entered my mind. And I said, "Uy, I can see you. See through." See through, no? See through. Wow, it's transparent. It's so thin, it's transparent. So, wow. Now, all of a sudden, nagkaroon ng violent reaction. I was holding the spam, and I was thinking, are we still talking about this piece of meat? Apparently, it's no longer about the spam, it's about something else. You get the point? Di ba? Pag may mga wounds tayo, no, sometimes, there is a particular trigger. No? Meron ka lang sinabi, for example, yung husband mo left the socks lying on the floor. Now later on, you realize it's no longer about the socks lying on the floor, it's about something else. Okay? Your wife feels disrespected or something every time you do it repeatedly. So you begin to wonder, why is my action creating this overreaction? Again, the reason behind it are wounds. When we have wounds, we tend to overreact, right? Violent reactions for very small actions. Again, why? Because there are pre-existing wounds. Now, we do not want this to be in the lives of our children. But sometimes wrong inputs, no inputs, will create that in the lives of children. So it is important. So these are mother wounds. And then, neglect of social guidance. I am ignorant of the lives or intricacies of others around me. I struggle to think and function broader than my own world. Some people, they just think of themselves. They do not go beyond, right? I score low on emotional intelligence when it comes to being connected to the emotions of others. I score low on emotional intelligence when it comes to managing the emotions of other people. Next, neglect of demonstration of validation. I struggle with the supporting of others. Now, this one I need to explain. I struggle to play second fiddle. What's second fiddle? In an orchestra, when you have a second fiddle, you actually almost do not hear the second fiddle. Okay? The presence of that second fiddle is to make sure that the sound is in a way thicker, and you can hear more. But basically, hindi po bida yung second fiddle. You almost cannot hear the second fiddle. Now, bottom line, some people, they struggle to validate other people. If they did not initiate the activity, they will not support the activity. They have to be the ones to initiate it, but they struggle with supporting other people. Okay, that's a wound. So I struggle with submission. I struggle with moving others to support a cause that is not my initiative. So, mother wounds. Now let's look at father wounds. What are the father wounds? Moral authority. I have a need for knowing between right and wrong. Some people just struggle with this one. No one showed me how to lead. I do not know absolute norms. I cannot apply delayed gratification. I want it now. I struggle to stand under authority. I want to do things my way. Identity. I do not know where I belong, so that's the orphan spirit. I do not know my unique significance because you were never affirmed. I am plagued by insecurities. My work becomes my identity. Can you imagine as a parent that your work is now your identity? I remember one of my co-trainers in the World Needs a Father. He did a training. Actually, it's just a short training. And just so happened, in the audience, there was this guy who just got fired from work. And he wanted to kill himself. Later on, he said, he was very honest. He said, and the trainer asked why, and he said, I felt so insignificant after I lost my job. I feel that I'm only relevant to my family if I have a job. So he struggled with identity. To him, the loss of his job is the loss of everything. His very own significance, even to his family, to the point that he wanted to kill himself. So, I do not know who I am. I have identity confusion. I mask my real self, adopting a different identity that will be accepted. I am aggressively defensive when criticized. So because of the insecurities with your identity, you feel that everything is a personal attack. Okay? Emotional security. I feel I probably deserve nothing. I can never get enough attention or care. I have attention addiction. I support the underdog. Okay? Let me clarify this. Does not mean that when you support the underdog, you already have wounds. But the tendency to always identify yourself with the underdog. Okay? Feeling what they feel, feeling what they experience. So it's more of you're relating with their experience rather than just supporting a team. I do not know my real feelings. I try to earn respect, love by trying to prove that I am good enough. This is a very dangerous thing. When you're always trying to prove that you are good enough, you always struggle with proving yourself. And then, affirmation. I do not feel I have any contribution to make. By the way, I had this online training during the pandemic with some fathers from Winnipeg, Canada. So we talked about affirmation, and I asked them this question. There were 6 of them. I asked them, what affirmations do you remember that you heard from your fathers growing up? To my surprise, nobody actually shared something. And then all of a sudden, one of them said, wait, Pastor, I remember something. Okay, sabi ko, good. Ano yun? Sabi niya, I remember, palaging sinasabi ng tatay ko, diyan, sa kalokohan, diyan ka magaling. So, I go, that's the only affirmation. It was not good. So, bottom line, that was the only affirmation that he heard from his father. It was not a good affirmation. So the bottom line is, sometimes, we're so busy trying to correct our children, we fail to affirm them. As I said, based on a POP survey, the average father would spend only 20 minutes per day interacting with the child. And most of the time, and most of that particular 20 minutes, you're correcting the child. Can you imagine? Your child associating you with correction. Every time you call your child, ang nasa isip ng child, correction. This afternoon, after this talk, I'll go to a company, do a talk with them. We're trying to change the image of the HR department. Sabi ko sa kanila, what is the context of why do the employees feel that every time si HR magpapatawag, palaging papagalitan? And you know what they said? Kasi Pastor, it's true. Every time we ask them to come to the office, it's always in the context of telling them what they did wrong. Like, why not change the culture? Why not call them and reward them for doing something that they did right? So that every time they hear HR is asking me to go to the office, they would feel better. They would feel comfortable. Kasi palagi ang nasa isip, pinatawag ako sa HR, lagot na. Ano naman ang mali ko? Ano naman ginawa ko? And sometimes as parents, yung children natin, they feel that way. If you are not conscious of this, oftentimes, every time na patawag natin yung anak natin, it is always in the context of correction. Isipin nyo, how many times a week do you call your child and ask him or her to come to you? And in what context? Usually, to scold them, to tell them you did something wrong. And they will grow up associating you with that. Kaya yung wife ko, when she asked me to go out with my daughter, to scold my daughter in a better venue, I said, I did not scold her. We just enjoy the time together. In fact, we do that all the time. My wife said, how come you and our kids, you will scold them and after that, as if everything is okay? Sabi ko, ano gusto mo? Yung matagal kami magalit. Sabi ko, hindi. We just want to move on. We have talked about the issue. Now it's time to enjoy my relationship with you. We discussed the issue. That's a done deal. Okay? We move on. We enjoy life together. I don't need a special reason to enjoy my kids. We just go out every time we feel we want to go out. Because I want to communicate to my children, you are important to me, regardless of how you perform in school. Because I believe that that support system is essential so that they can do better next time. Right? So, very stressful din ang buhay nila, no? Very stressful. Sometimes iniisip natin tayo lang na stress, but in reality, they also get stressed. So, sometimes ito pag-isipan natin, how much affirmation do you give to your children? Or do they associate you more with correction or affirmation? Maganda pag-isipan niya. Baka mamaya, sa isip nila, every time mommy calls me, every time daddy calls me, I'm sure it's about something I did wrong. But it will be good because, you want to affirm them. So, compliments are observed with suspicion. When you are not affirmed enough, compliments are observed with suspicion. Parang ganito yan, ano? Minsan sa husband and wife, this happens all the time, no? You buy something for your wife, and the wife thinks, Maybe you bought something for yourself. That's why you're buying this for me. No? So meron gano'n, ano? I heard of so many husbands who say, nagbigay daw sila ng bulaklak sa wife nila on a special occasion. Tapos ang sabi ng wife, siguro may binili ka rin, siguro may kasalanan ka. Laging gano'n, no? Bakit kaya? I always feel uncertain. I always question myself because when they don't get the affirmation that they need, they will always doubt if they're doing good enough, right? I try to impress people all the time because you seek affirmation. I struggle with immaturity, okay? But there is hope, okay? There is hope. We can correct this. So, what do we do when damage has been done, okay? The reason why we discuss this, and this is a very important chapter in the World Days of Father, because we're talking about the ability to parent our children. As I said, what makes you able to parent your children? Let's use that word, able. Let's focus on that word, able. Let me use the illustration I used earlier for those who came in late. Halimbawa, if there is a person with a disability, and I ask that person to run fast, that person cannot run fast because that person is not physically able. Now, if we carry wounds, we cannot communicate with our children, we cannot relate to them properly simply because of the wounds that we carry. So how do we deal with the wounds? Because this affects your ability to parent your children. And if you are not careful, the wounds that you carry will also be passed on to your children. Okay, does that make sense? We carry wounds, and because these wounds affects our ability to parent our children well, they also will have wounds. So we pass on the wounds to them. So what do we do? How do we deal with this? Number one, stop playing the blame game. Again, as I said, the intention of this particular discussion is not to blame our parents. They have their own reasons. In fact, many times, when I teach this in the bigger context of retreats, I always ask the parents to think about the relationship of their parents with their parents. So, think about the relationship of your parents with their parents. So, what kind of relationship do they have? Because usually what we see are the inappropriate behavior. But what we don't see are the reasons behind. So, they do certain things because they themselves are wounded. And what we want to do is to make sure that we do not pass on the wounds to our children. So we have to be conscious if we carry wounds so that we can correct them. And we have to train our children well so that we do not create wounds. Secondly, stop playing the shame game. Sometimes ang nagiging problem parang, yes, I'm wounded, then ang tendency na lang is to have self-pity. Kawawa naman ako. No? You know what I learned about marriage? And I would like to share it with you. That marriage should be a place for healing, not for hurting. Can you imagine if your marriage is a place for healing as it was designed by God? Meaning, two broken people with wounds, insecurities coming together. The whole idea of marriage is to be a blessing to each other and to journey with each other towards healing, becoming better. That's why if you look at marriage in the context of the Bible, it's not about romantic love. It's about reconciliation. So when you talk about romantic love, you are so afraid to show your imperfections because you will tarnish romantic love. But if the intention is reconciliation, the more you reveal your weaknesses, the more you feel accepted. The more you feel accepted, you journey towards healing, the more the relationship becomes better. So it is important to see that God designed marriage as a journey between the husband and the wife towards becoming better. Not bitter, no, but better. So we get healed as we journey together. So very important yun eh. Kaya sometimes, ang nagiging problem po, we identify the wounds, and what happens, instead of being liberated from the wounds, we cause more wounds, no, sa ibang tao because we do not deal with them properly. So, what do we do? One, you have to identify the wound, okay, understand where it came from. Two, you have to acknowledge that you have a father or mother wound that you want to get it healed. And maybe specifically you want to name the wound so that you can identify how it affects you. Now, the first time I attended, because I have very good parents, very loving parents, ang ang nasa isip ko, maybe I have no wounds. No? Because you feel, if you say you have wounds, you feel that you're disrespecting your parents. But understand that because our parents are also human beings, and they may also carry wounds, so they can also unconsciously, and maybe not intentionally, inflict wounds on the children that they love. So sometimes we do carry wounds. So it takes time, no? Just sometimes yung ibang wounds isipin natin siguro wala, siguro hindi. But later on, as you go deeper in the study of wounds, then you realize that maybe the reason why I act this way, is because of the wounds that I carry. So yung actions and reactions natin will reveal the wounds. So very significant, no, that we name the wound and how it affected us. Now, name the unfulfilled need by stating it verbally. And sometimes, you have to face the facts about the impact of the wound. I felt like this because I was not given affirmation. I felt like this because of certain things. Now, I want you to understand this as well. Naalala niyo yung topic natin about seasons? No, I don't have to go back to the topic now. Pero ang point ko is this. As your children go through their own seasons, you also go through your own seasons. Tama? I remember talking to a member. Sabi niya, Pastor, we raised our kids differently, 3 of them. And when I say differently, it's because the first one and the second one was born during the time that we have not yet established our career in business. Sabi niya, Jollibee was a luxury for us. Yung bunso enjoyed life so much. Bakit? Because the business was already established. So, the reason why I'm saying this, because sometimes, if you raise a child during your success season, most likely your focus would be more on career. And by focusing on your career, many times you lack time for your children. Kaya iba-iba tayo ng pagpapalaki sa anak natin. Raised by the same parents, but because you raised them in a different season in your life, the way you raise them is different. You get the point? So sometimes, those differences will create wounds in the lives of children. So very important to be aware of this. Now, so again, the whole purpose, not to blame the parents, our parents, but number one, to be aware. Maybe we carry wounds. If we carry wounds, how do we deal with them? And how do we prevent passing on wounds to our children? So, I hope that this excites you for the coming lessons. No? Kasi as I said, this is a whole course, and we appreciate the partnership. And thank you very much for listening, and I hope you learned today.
Constantly, nako-compare sila. Kasi, for me, I have twins po, na 6 years old. So, parang, sa house, pinatry ko sila, kasi nako-compare sa family, di ba? Parang, pero at least yun, kaya mong i-tell sa family. Pero sa school, like sa classmates, or sa teachers, lalo na, they compare the kids. Sabi niya, he's more like this. Yeah, parang, yun yung, baka madala niya, how to affirm that as a parent po.
Okay. Thank you. Actually, first time ko marinig yung sa context ng twins. Very interesting, ano? Pero usually, when we affirm the child, I think this is more of a struggle pagdating sa twins kasi you're expecting that they are exactly the same, no? Pero what we know is that they're different in personality, even yung likes, dislikes, and even sometimes yung ibang mga physical abilities will also be different. So later on, we will talk about affirmation, but bigyan kita ng konting explanation about affirmation. In the topic of affirmation, we have to know their unique personality. Kasi sometimes it's easier to affirm a child that has a similar personality to you. Kung sanguine ka, ang dali i-affirm, sanguine din siya. So identify their unique personality and address them accordingly. So kung itong isa ay sanguine, maybe you have to compensate with the other one kung iba yung kanyang personality type. Next, try to identify yung kanilang unique skills. Saan ba mahusay yung isa? Sometimes yung isa mahusay sa sports, yung isa maybe sa arts. As I said, ang struggle natin as parents, sometimes, hindi pa lumalabas yung bata, meron na tayong preconceived idea, no, na what we will do to them and with them. So, ang nangyayari sometimes, yung mga preconceived plans na natin na ito, ang nagiging tendency, that will become the basis for affirming the child. And what if the child is different from what we conceive? No? Sa naisa-isip natin. Halimbawa, no, itong isang friend ko, they had 2 daughters, gusto nila yung third, pag nagkaanak, lalaki. Eh, just so happen, ako babae ulit, no? So sabi ko, oh, mag-ingat ka. Baka hindi pa lumalabas yung baby, parang may feeling of rejection na. What you don't want for the child to feel is prototype lang ako. Hanggang lumabas yung preferred gender. No? So, I have to try to avoid that. No? So, yung gender differences, importante rin i-acknowledge natin what is best suited for them. So, outside the family, it would be more difficult to control that. Pero within the family, try to identify their uniqueness and affirm them according to uniqueness. Keeping in mind that because they are twins, they are already suffering from comparison. Given na yung comparison sa kanila. So the sooner you are able to identify your uniqueness and support them sa kanilang individual efforts, huwag natin itrato as twins, no? Kasi paminsan, pag twins, tuwang-tuwa tayo, kailangan parehas yung suot, parehas ng activities, kahit hindi naman pala parehas nilang gusto. So sometimes we try to address them as equals because we assume that that's the best way. But I think the better way would be to identify their uniqueness and support them according to those uniqueness. So temperament, yung personality, yung kanilang skills, magkakaiba yan, pati yung basic ng skills, yung kanilang values, magkakaiba din. And you love them equally, but you try to express that love in a unique way that would be more relevant sa kanilang needs. So again, keeping in mind that outside the family, they're always being compared. And that is the curse for twins. No? Palagi merong comparison. Palagi. So, help them to see being twins does not mean that you're 50% of the other person, but to see that they are loved totally, 100%. Kahit nasabihin natin twins sila. So just be conscious of that.
Okay. Do you have a follow-up? Okay na po. Okay. Are there more questions? Okay, come.
My name is Mark. Saan galing siya?
Parang kayo, no?
Maganda yung merong mga cases na some parents did not realize or even if they realize na dyan yung pre-existing old habits like art. So, if ever you try to correct or you try to sa child mo, baka magkamali ka, dapat affirmation, dapat ganito. Pero again, you realize, hindi na palit-palit na ako. So, nagkakaroon ng constant or dahil corrections. And sometimes you realize, sometimes you don't. And if ever you realize, how do you, ang questions is, when is the appropriate time, how do you rectify, and example, to rectify, to correct, or
Okay.
that's our yours.
Yeah. Okay. The good news is that this is just part of a long training. No? So in the coming trainings, we will address that. No? Kasi yung isa dyan, one of the reasons why we create wounds related to, for example, authority, is because there is no clarity of rules. No? So sometimes, iba yung rules ni tatay, iba yung rules ni nanay, or maybe inconsistency of the parents. We say one thing, but we do not do the same. Kung ano yung sinasabi natin, we don't do it. So we create more wounds kasi they do not trust us because of our inconsistencies. Sa affirmation, as I said kanina, importante yung we get to know the child. So all of these things we will discuss later on. So 4 na bagay yan about the fathers. We have the moral authority. So how do we make sure that we clarify what is right and wrong and how do we establish moral authority? Identity, to make sure that our children understand ano ba yung identity na pinoform natin. So we will talk about family values. One example, sa family namin, yung daughter namin, she now has a cell phone. Pero before we gave her a cell phone, we gave her a set of rules first. So ang rules namin sa kanya is we can monitor the conversations in the phone. Pero yung rules na yun apply to me as well. So all the family members, even our youngest, can actually open my phone. Yung wife ko can open my phone except my GCash. So they can open my phone, I can open my wife's phone, we know the password, each other's password. So ibig sabihin, to avoid yung confusion pagdating sa rules, we want to make sure that we have accountability to each other, and part of accountability is just making sure that whatever we say that we need to do to our children, the rules apply to us as well. So that will be easier for them to understand why rules are important. Kasi hindi pwede yung sa'yo lang, pero kami hindi pwede. So they can open my phone. No? So, yan ang ilang example. But again, maybe that's demanding too much from other people, especially kung hindi kayo sanay sa ganon. But we will talk about that in the future. So, pati yan, ano yung family values natin. Ang purpose ng family values is we want to set ourselves apart from other people. Halimbawa, sometimes yung daughter namin would ask, bakit sa ibang family, sa mga pinsan niya, pwede yung ganito, sa amin hindi. And the values would explain, because we adhere to a certain values that we embrace, even though we allow you to play with them, but certain activities and certain things that they do are not part of our value system. So we will not make decisions geared towards doing those things. No, yung mga pinsan gusto manood ng mga Korean. Yeah? So sabi ko, well, we may have the resource to be able to do that, but that is not our priority because it is not aligned with our value system. If you find an activity that is better aligned with our values, then it would be easier for us to say yes. So kailangan makita nila yung values na yun. So what we spend money on, what we do as a family, we always say hindi tayo mayaman, but if it supports our values, family values, then we have to pursue that. So kagaya ngayon, naglalaro sila ng sports, may taekwondo meet sila. So that's been going on for quite some time. Dahil as a family, we believe that sports is essential. So we spend money on that, not because we are rich, but because we know it's part of what we need to become better as a family. So we allocate resources for such things. So yun, parte po yun. So huwag kayo mag-alala because we will explain this in more detail in the future. So moral authority, identity, affirmation, how to affirm, when to affirm, and then yung isang pinakamahalaga, emotional security. What is the emotional atmosphere at home? Yan, very important yan. Because the emotional atmosphere at home will determine what happens at home. And one thing I learned, just to show you how important this is, I used to think that homemaking is just, parang sinabi kong homemaker, that wala kang ibang maisulat dun sa space, no? What do you do, homemaker? But later on, lately, nagkaroon ako ng bagong perspective. Homemaking is making sure that you set the house to be conducive for something. Parang ganito yan. When I go to a house and I see the things at the house, the way the house is set up, I can easily tell what is important to that family. I was asked to dedicate a house. Ang laki ng entertainment system. No? Parang, sabi ko, if communication is important to you, that's a very big distraction. Might as well donate it to me. So, ang bottom line is, I remember my wife, I wanted a bigger television, kaso yung TV namin, hindi masira-sira, no? For some reason. Tagal na. Nung nasira, praise the Lord. Now I can buy. Sabi ko sa kanya, let's buy the biggest na nandun sa sale. Sabi niya, no, we will not buy the biggest. Sabi ko, lagay natin yung dalawang bilhin natin, lagay natin sa kwarto yung isa. Sabi niya, hindi. And why? Because we agreed before that communication is important. If we put a television sa room namin, we will no longer communicate. We just focus on the television. So we decided not to put TV sa bahay. Yung internet namin, we're still using prepaid, by the way. We got through pandemic using prepaid. Why? Because it has limited internet access. And we do not want to give unlimited access and later on complain about kids who are using the internet unlimited. You pay for it and then you suffer because because of it. So, aligned sa family values yung mga decision making. We will talk about that later on. So I hope that excites you for the next. But just to give you an idea, those are some of the things that we can do to make sure that we know properly how to avoid inflicting wounds and how to address existing wounds. Okay. Yung show pa, thank you for the affirmation. Hindi ko rin alam kung saan pero masarap yan.
Masasagot din ni Ansi Clau. Okay, siguro let's open the floor for one last question. Tapos babalik natin yung floor kay Pastor Jebo.
Hi, good morning, Pastor. Si Sheng po. So, yung question ko, we're talking about wounds and all, is there a human concept for being wound-free or woundless? Or as humans ba, are we intentional or not? Inevitable ba yung wounds sa atin?
Yeah. Good question. Actually, yes. No? Either lang yan, it's either you have less wounds or more wounds. But definitely, hindi pwedeng no wounds. No? And then if you're married, you have a family, the chances of having more and more wounds escalates dahil yun ang pang-asawa mo, ganun din. Meron din siyang wounds that he or she carries. And then, pag pinagsama kayo, two wounded individuals, the tendency is hurt people. So yan ang tendency. That's why part ng ating intention is to identify the wounds. Kung paano may compassion ka, for example, if your spouse is sick, physically, meron kang compassion for the spouse because the sickness or the injury is very obvious. Ang problem sa wounds kasi na pinag-usapan natin, they are not obvious. No? Pag tinignan mo yung tao, maybe physically okay, but you do not know the wounds that they carry. So the more conscious we are of wounds, and after going through this, I'm sure, pag nakita mo yung spouse mo, medyo nagda-diagnose ka na siguro. Diba? So sometimes, pati ikaw din, you tend to diagnose yourself. And the good thing about it is if you are aware that you carry wounds, you will be mindful of how you act and react. And sometimes it provides an explanation of why you get offended at certain things. So yun ang advantage. As I said, importante po na meron tayong group din, and this is a very important venue for that, itong group na ito. The reason is we need people to journey with. No? May mga bagay na hindi natin mapag-usapan as couples. That's true. In the context of a group, kunwari may magtatanong, no? Sa halip na kung ang tanong may kapitbahay po kasi kami ganito, pero deep inside ikaw yun. But sometimes, you get to hear of other people's journey and relate to what they're going through. And by understanding yung kanilang situation, in the process, you experience healing. So that's why a group setting is important. No? Kaya mahalaga din na meron tayong groups, no? Because they can identify. Minsan kasi pag masyado na tayong wounded, when you try to maybe help heal the wound of your spouse, kung malalim yung wound niya, the more that person will be offended. Kasi parang hindi mo ba matanggap? Ganyan, di ba? So parang lalong lumala. In the context of a group, we experience better healing. Kasi yung issue does not become first person na ikaw. Rather, maybe experience ng ibang tao and then you listen in to what's going on. And the advice given to that person is somehow related din sa case ninyo. So, in the process, you also learn without offending your spouse. Kasi talaga very sensitive to depende sa depth ng wound at depende rin sa acceptance natin dun sa wound at sa context ng inyong relationship. No, kasi minsan may mga established insecurities na tayo na when you try to address an imperfection, it becomes a personal attack. And we do not want that. Hindi natin gusto. Yeah. Thank you for the question. Okay. By the way,